Good morning, everybody. I've got this feeling it's a very international audience that I can get a little bit of feedback from you. So what I'd like to do just firstly is check who I'm talking to. So if you're a teacher, please could you put your hand up? Fantastic, thank you. Actually, I've got a secret. Ever since I was at school, I wanted to get the teachers to put their hands up. So thank you for that. How about parents? How many parents do we have here? Brilliant, lots. And students? Great, because I'm going to be talking to you quite a lot soon. And guests? Terrific, that's really helpful, thank you. So let me start by introducing myself. No, that's not me. But I was actually born here in the village. That's St John's Wood village. And so therefore I'm both local, and as you can probably tell, I'm also British. So I've come here really with a sort of perspective on the American school, and I'm learning a lot both today and when I visited for the first time about a month or so ago. And as Alex said, I spent my career building businesses, building technology companies. But actually I'm also on a life journey. And what I've realized more recently, is actually the thing I really get a kick out of, although I like to grow businesses, it's actually growing people. The thing I get really excited about is seeing people do things that they thought they couldn't do and stretching them right out of their comfort zone, and then us all being surprised and being able to celebrate that success. And the great thing about technology is that, as a number of people have mentioned today, it really is turning our world on its head. And we heard earlier about how young people have changed the world in the 1960s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and are still changing it. But the great thing about technology is, whereas before information and things used to sort of flow down from teachers and parents to young people, a lot of it is actually flowing the other way. I think that's a really good thing and is very exciting. And that's why I've called my talk today the Youth Enterprise Effect. And it's really in the context of the overall theme. Empowering a community through one. I'm really excited by your theme. I think it's brilliant. But what it does beg the question is, what do we actually mean by community? Is that just the people here in the school and the parents? Is it beyond that, maybe the local neighbourhood? Is it our country? Is it where you originally came from? Is it a global village? I think it's something that we all need to think about. And what do we mean by through one? For me, through one is a little bit easier. I think for things to happen, we have to have one real clear vision, an aim, and a direction. That's what really helps. And if I look at the most successful organisations that I've come across, they've got some of the things which the school has, and which we've heard from Mrs. Hester earlier. They've got real values that actually underpin and create a foundation for everything else that you build on. They've got a mission, and we all see it regularly if you come to the school and see it as you come through the front door. But the really great organisations have got an outrageous ambition, something that helps stretch them beyond maybe where they're ever going to get to, but really helps lift people's sights, helps motivate them and incentivise them to do better. And so, as I guess an outsider, as I've only been to the school, this is my second time, one of my questions really is, what's the outrageous ambition for this school? And beyond that, I then thought a bit more about it. Well, if the school's going to have an outrageous ambition, ideally, really, it ought to be the young people in the school that create it. Now, I don't know whether you've been doing that, but what I thought I'd do today is just share some thoughts based on my background as to what that outrageous ambition could be. But the other thing we need to think about, I guess, is what's school all about? And I think school has changed a bit, certainly from when I was at school. School, I think, as we all realise, is much more than just exams and getting into college. A really great school prepares us for life. And from what I've learnt already today about this school, I think a lot of great work's been doing in creating really well-rounded individuals. But also, and we've heard this from other speakers too, what schools aren't very good at is actually preparing us for the world of work. And what you hear constantly from employers, however good the school is, you're bringing people to us that we actually have to do quite a lot with to get them ready for the workplace. And the other thing, just looking at this picture here, is that I feel that quite often we all live in bubbles. I live in a bubble. I think quite a few of us live in bubbles, but actually as communities we live in bubbles too. My impression from the outside, to be honest with you, of the American school was that it felt like it was a little bit of American living in a bubble. And actually, what I've learned today is that's not quite as true as I thought it was, but I'm sure that there are elements of this community that maybe sometimes you feel it is a little bit bubble-like. But that's not just about the school. I think lots of communities live in bubbles and don't always notice what's going on around outside. And the thing about bubbles, which I think we all like, is that they're cozy, they're safe, and they're familiar. So why should you really step outside? You have to take quite a big effort to step beyond the bubble. So here is, I hope, a familiar picture. Starbucks on the corner, a bit of a giveaway. And also, not only do I hope you recognise the picture, I think I recognise quite a few of you. Because when I walk down St John's Wood High Street nowadays, there's something which I sort of call coffee jogging. People sort of wearing tracksuits, carrying cups of coffee. So I feel that compared to when I grew up in St John's Wood, it's very different. It does feel very international and very American. And that's a good thing. I think you bring a lot of diversity into this area. But as I said, it still does feel a little bit bubble-like in St John's Wood. It always has done, and it probably feels even more so today. So I tried to imagine just a little bit about some of the challenges that I guess you face as a community, because I know a number of the parents here, and sometimes you come for 2 or 3 years. You don't always know how long you're going to be here for, and then some people I know stay for a lot longer. So trying to understand the challenges of moving from a different home somewhere else to a home here, and for children having to make new friends and really start again, I can understand the importance of community, particularly to a school like this. And as with all communities, we have to put effort in, don't we? Because there are always some people who are the ones who put all the effort in, and there are others that actually maybe go along with it, and some who do very little. And I guess with a really vibrant community, as we've heard from a number of people earlier, and also from the videos, the stronger the community is or the strength of the community is built by what we put into it. And the beauty of a really great community is that the more we put in, the better that community is for all. Now, I'm going to show you a different photo. Because with my last one, I guess the point I wanted to make is that at the end of the day, it's really a choice as to how involved in our community we get. And that's a very personal choice. Now, this picture here, some of you might be familiar with, but it's probably not quite as familiar as St John's Wood High Street. It's the Job Centre in Lyceum Grove, which is part of the Church Street area. And this was quite new information to me, but Church Street in 2004 was designated as the most deprived area in London, and actually the most deprived area in southern England. And it's still in the top 5%. And that is part of our community. It's part of our neighbourhood. It's not very far from here, it's just near the Marylebone Road. And one thing that really worries me is that not only do we have this on our doorstep, but we've also got a lost generation of young people. Now that is happening all over the world. It's got a lot worse since the credit crunch in 2008. But there are a lot of people out there who don't have the opportunities that we do. And in the UK, as we've heard our politicians tell us more recently, fortunately, that we've got 1 million people aged between 16 and 24 who are out of work and not in full-time education. That's 1 in 5. So in a room like this of about 400 people, that's 80. It's a lot. And not only that, by the age of 30, on average, these people will have had 2 years of unemployment, and many of them will have given up completely. And the age group of these people is not so much older than the older students within the school. So I worry about it a lot. And it's not just worrying, it's really a question of what can we do about it, because it's one of the biggest social and economic issues, I think, facing all of our communities today, because we can't live in our bubble with that sort of thing going on outside. And so one of the questions I've really got for the young people here in this school is, what type of world do you want to grow up in? Because you could argue that the generation above you and the one above that have ruined a lot of things. So if you don't like what you see, what do you actually want to do to change it? And what can we do to help you get there? Because when I look at the abilities of this community here in this school, they're absolutely incredible. You know, the can-do attitude that you bring, your international network and experience, the ability just to get things happening. It really isn't about money. It's much more about time and involvement in making things happen. But it is a very personal choice. And I appreciate that whatever we do, we've really also got to think about what community matters to us most. So it's just a thought. But when I came here about a month ago, I met with Tamitha Bibu. Where is Tamitha? Been looking for you all day. Hi. Tamitha and her team, and I was really impressed by the service learning that's been going on here. So the change over the course of the last 3 years and the relationships that are being built and partnerships with local schools, with hospices and other social services is fantastic. And I guess really it's part of your journey. What I also learnt, and we heard a little bit earlier from Mrs. Hester, is that out of your 400 14 to 18-year-olds, 200 are already involved in social programs of one kind or another. So back to my thought really about an outrageous ambition is you've started on your journey. It's sort of what next? Where can you take it? And that's really what I wanted to think about. What can we do with what you started with to have an even bigger impact than you've had today? How do we burst out of our bubbles? Now, I like trees. And when I look at initiatives and think, well, are they going to work? I quite like to use a tree as an analogy. Because as we all know, trees have got roots. And what roots do is they allow the tree to grow, they feed it, and they nourish it. But the tree has to have a strong core. It has to have a focus. Because if it's not focused, it's weak. But what it does have is multiple branches that come off that core. And that allows, a bit like in a company that I'm used to with products, a one product company is no use. You want to have multiple branches, multiple products that you build off it. And the other real beauty is that it's got seeds for the future. And so when we're thinking about initiatives, we don't really want them to just be one-off. We want them to have that same characteristics as the tree and be able to be of value to future generations and to grow seeds for what happens next. Now this quote is one I'm very conscious is often used. Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. Often used, but I think really powerful. And thinking about it again, really in the context of the theme, was, well, how can you empower a community through one? Thinking about this particular quote. And my thought really, and it's just a seed which I'm planting, is would it be possible for the American school to set as its outrageous ambition for it to become a leader in youth-led social enterprise? So pulling together some of the strands really of the fact that schools, as we said before, don't really prepare people quite often for the world of work. But rather than it just all being about business and making money, why not try and combine the two, where it's led by the young people, it can be set up in a number of ways, either as a social enterprise fund, or we've got something called a community interest company here, where any profits, any surplus, are reinvested back into the vehicle itself. And what that would do would have a number of big advantages. It would be a leadership opportunity for students within the school. You'd be able to work in partnership with both your teachers, your parents, and the local community. You'd learn more about enterprise, and it would provide a vehicle with focus and something for you to build on for future generations of students to work on too. Now, that sounds a little bit theoretical and academic, so what I wanted to do was just to build on it with a few more thoughts about how that can happen. So there's some organisations out there that can help. There's Social Enterprise UK, which provides all sorts of support for enterprises with social purposes. And some of you may have come across Ashoka International, which I only learned about quite recently. Now, Ashoka have got a group of people, ambassadors, that they call the change makers, which is actually a term that Alec used earlier at the outset. And those are people in communities all around the world who don't like what they see and they want to have an impact on change. So it's an international network that can actually support and make things happen. Still down to you to make it happen, but it means that you've got other people out there that you can connect with who can help you and share their experiences. And the thing I particularly liked about Ashoka is that they have a youth program as well. So where do you start? I think the best way to start really is start with things that you're interested in, where you've got a real passion for. Now that might be music, it could be the theatre, it might be technology and social media, it could be cooking. I came across two examples recently I thought I'd share. The first one is called Music Theatre for Youth. And what it is a community theatre project where the people involved in running the theatre are young people. And if you take this school as an example, it will be students from this school and from other schools putting on productions, whether that be music, drama, or whatever, selling tickets and reinvesting the proceeds back into the theatre itself to develop talent and to put on new productions. I thought that was pretty cool. The second one is called Food Cycle. And what these people do is they help communities like yours collect surplus food from local shops and supermarkets, not gone off food that can be eaten. And we've got a lot of those around here at St John's Wood. And they take the food and they cook it in kitchens, big kitchens like you've got here in this school. And then they provide meals to local people in the community who are homeless. I thought that was really great as well. So I'd like to finish really with just this thought, which I think is a constant theme for today, is that we're all defined at the end of the day, not by who we are, who we're born as, but by what we do. That's really what makes us. And it is a very individual choice that we all have to make. Do we want to be spectators, or do we want to be players and lead change? I very much hope, and I'm sure from what I've heard, that the young people in this school want to be the players and the future leaders of our communities, wherever that might be. Thank you very much.